Magdalena wasn't allowed to go to the date with Leon because she had to do her homework yesterday. But she will be able to go to the date tomorrow. What's the video about? The video is about modal auxiliaries and their substitute forms. Welcome, let's get started. First of all, let's talk about the usage. When do you use modal auxiliaries? Here we go. Modal auxiliary verbs like can, must, would, should, may, might, and so on can only be used in the simple present tense. Substitute forms are necessary for all other tenses. Exception, you can also use could for can in the simple past. Now, let's dive in and talk about can, could, and their substitute forms. So here we go. Can, could, and one substitute form is be able to. With can, could, and the substitute form be able to, you say what you can do. It's an ability, like playing the piano, playing football, and so on. In the simple present tense, we have Hannah can or is able to sing very well. They can't, they aren't able to speak Chinese. Simple past. Lara could, was able to dance nicely. The girls weren't able to play tennis. And in the will future, Emilia will be able to draw great pictures. They won't be able to run a marathon. Can, could, can only be used in the simple present tense or with could in the simple past tense. If you're talking about an ability, you use a form of be able to. And there is another form, be allowed to. When do you use be allowed to instead of can or could? With can, could, and the substitute form be allowed to, you say what you can do, and in this case, it's a permission. It's not an ability, it's a permission. In the simple present, Mia can or is allowed to visit Carla. I can't, I am not allowed to stay up late. Simple past. Tim could or was allowed to spend time with Leah. The girls weren't allowed to go there. And again, in the will future, Julia will be allowed to go to Lisa's party. We won't be allowed to watch the movie. So you have to decide. If it's an ability, you can use be able to. If you're talking about a permission, you can use be allowed to. And the form of be is the thing that can be transformed in every tense. Now, let's talk about must or have to. With must and the replacement form have to, you say what you have to do. It's an obligation. And here are the examples. Simple present tense. Luisa must or has to tidy up her room. He doesn't have to buy it. Simple past. Tom had to ask Emma for a date. They didn't have to eat it. Will future. Greta will have to help her mother. You won't have to talk to them. And there is one more thing. Watch out. Must bedeutet müssen. Mustn't bedeutet nicht dürfen. Lynn must ask her friend. Sie muss fragen. Eva mustn't talk to him. Sie darf ihn nicht sprechen. There's a difference in the meaning between must and mustn't. If you want To use must in the negative sense, you need needn't. And here we go. Usage: should, shouldn't, needn't. In this case, we are talking about a recommendation. You express a recommendation with should or shouldn't. If something is not necessary, use needn't. Here are the examples. You should really read that book. Emma shouldn't ask Daniel for a date. You needn't pay for the dinner. Im Sinne von nicht brauchen. Summary. This video was about modal auxiliary. Summary. This video was about modal auxiliaries and their substitute forms. If you're talking about an ability or a permission, you can either use can or could in the simple past, and then you have to decide. For an ability, like playing the guitar, you use be able to. If you're talking about a permission, you use be allowed to. And these two substitute forms can be transformed into every tense because of the verb be. Was allowed to, has been allowed to, had been allowed to, will be allowed to, or able to. The substitute form for must is have to. Had to, will have to, don't have to, didn't have to, and so on. Don't mix up mustn't and needn't. That's it. Das war's. Wenn dir das Video gefallen hat, Daumen hoch. Wenn du nichts mehr verpassen möchtest, mach die Glocke an. Am meisten freue ich mich über Kommentare und natürlich über ein Abo des Kanals, wenn du überraschenderweise noch keines dagelassen hast. Wenn dir das Video gefallen hat, teile es und sage es allen weiter. Mehr Übungen findest du natürlich im English Grammar Workbook. Ein Video dazu findest du oben angepinnt. Und ansonsten, wie gewohnt, findest du Übungen auf www.grammarbox.de. In diesem Sinne, danke fürs Zusehen, bis zum nächsten Mal und ciao for now.